Okay.
Step one.
Step one. We're into steps. Yay! We're into steps. We're going to start. It's still not the recovery step yet. It's still more alcoholism, ego, and self wrapped up in step one, but we're a step in the right direction. Step one, I admitted I'm powerless over alcohol, that my life has become unmanageable. I read it in the I. I read these books in the I. I change all the we's and they's and us and them to I. Because when I read it in the I, it's a story about me. When I read it in the we, it's a story about you guys. And we means you better do something so I can be okay. The first line in the 12 and 12, who cares to admit complete defeat? And there's a question mark there. Now, I read that as a sentence. It's a nice sentence. Who cares to admit complete defeat? Question mark. And then it answers the question. Practically no one, of course. And I agreed with that. And so I just kept reading. Because it's a book, and you read books. And the purpose of reading a book is to get to the end of the book so you know how it finishes, and then you can live that way or move on and get another book. But this book isn't like that. And that was what was shown to me, because I read it like that. I read it like it was a story about you guys, and what you should do for your recovery, and I should be able to just not drink and get better. But when my sponsor, he said, do you care to admit complete defeat? And I said, no, I do not care to admit complete defeat. I'll admit alcohol defeat, but I'm not admitting money defeat, or girlfriend defeat, or apartment defeat, or driving defeat. I'm an excellent driver. Dad lets me drive in the driveway every Tuesday. Who cares to admit complete defeat? Do I care to admit complete defeat? Hell no, I do not. But it talks about complete defeat about 4 times in the first page of the 12 and 12. It says practically no one, of course, right? Every natural instinct. That's the next line. Every natural instinct in me cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. Everything that I'm made of cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. It is not weird that I don't just surrender. Because I can't surrender. If I could, I would. Because I know how it feels so good to surrender. And to be able to be in that place where I'm willing to do anything. Isn't that the best place to be? It's like, okay, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. You want the floor cleaned? I'll clean the floor. I don't care. Just let me. So long as it makes my mind quiet, I'll clean the floor. Thank you for letting me clean the floor. Oh, this is great. And then, but then that thing comes back that cries out against personal powerlessness. How come they're not cleaning the floor? Why should I have to clean the floor? And all of a sudden it's back. And I'm not a complete defeat anymore. And I don't even know how it happened. Self just said, this isn't fair. You shouldn't have to clean the floor. There's other guys here. Let them clean the floor. You're more important than they are. You've been here longer. And it speaks to me with authority. Because every natural instinct in me cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. That's what I'm up against. That's why I've got to know what's wrong with me. And that I don't want to express my power. I want to live in a place of powerlessness as a way of life. It's something that I desire because I've been shown what I get when I use my power. I know what it feels like to be cleaning the floor and hate it and hate everybody else because they're not cleaning the floor and be so miserable and still have to be cleaning the floor. It's like I'm still have to live this life. I still get up in the morning and I get through the day, but I just hate it, every step of it. I hate that I live where I live and I do what I do and the girl that I'm with, and it's just so painful. Right? But upon entering AA, I take quite another view of this absolute humiliation. I perceive that only through utter defeat, which is a lot like complete defeat, Only through utter defeat am I able to take my first steps towards liberation and strength. My admission of personal powerlessness. My admission of that. The thing that I don't want to do becomes the firm bedrock. Finally, turns out to be the firm bedrock upon which a happy and purposeful life can be built. I want to have a happy and purposeful life. But the thing that it takes to have that is the admission of personal powerlessness, and I can't do it. I lack the power to admit that. That's the power I lack. If I could admit my personal powerlessness, I would be relieved of alcoholism. If I could do it once and be done, that'd be that. I wouldn't need to come back to AA. But I have this disease that tells me you don't have a disease, and there's nothing wrong with you, and you just had some bad luck, and you're going to stay sober for some more days, and you're going to catch a good break, and things are going to work out, and you're going to be okay. Just don't drink today. You're going to be okay, buddy. We know that little good can come to me as an alcoholic who joined AA unless I first accept my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. What I've been talking about up until this point right now is my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. My devastating weakness is not alcohol. Unless I take the first drink, right? This whole conversation would be academic. Wouldn't have to have it if I never took the first drink. But because of my disease and the amount of pain that it gets me into, I always think that drinking is a good idea. So I have to know my devastating weakness, and all of its consequences is all the lives, your lives that I ruin, everyone around me whose life I ruin, and push out of my life and then ruin my life. Until I so humble myself, my sobriety, if any, will be precarious. Of real happiness, I'll find none at all. And then it says, this is proved beyond a doubt by immense experience. This is one of the facts of AA life. So, there's an AA life, and there's a Randy's life. My life is over. I'm a complete defeat at running my life. I get AA life now, and this is the beginning of AA life. And then it says that crazy thing again. The principle that I shall find no enduring strength until I first admit complete defeat is the main taproot from which our whole society has sprung and flowered. The main taproot, the thing that holds the whole thing in place, my sobriety, is held in place by the taproot of my admission of complete defeat. Complete defeat, not alcohol defeat. I can never ever drink alcohol again. But that's not what's wrong with me. I'm a complete defeat. And the unmanageable life isn't my outside life. My outside life, it becomes unmanageable. But it becomes unmanageable because of my inner life. The life that's unmanageable is my inner life. I cannot manage it. I cannot control what my mind's going to tell me and how it's going to think and what it's going to say to me. You know, the guys that know me that have heard me before, I could get into a shower, and it's a beautiful thing, a shower. We have hot water, running water, unlimited. You can shower forever. You might run out of hot water, but you're not going to run out of water. And it's fantastic. And I had a brother who went to prison for a while, and he told me that he never got to have a hot shower because of the pecking order, the way the showers worked. He didn't get a hot shower. And the next time I got in the shower and I turned the hot water on, I went, wow, I got a hot shower. How fantastic is this? That I get to take a hot shower whenever I want. But I get in the shower and my mind starts talking to me about my day. And it starts talking to me about what a loser I am. And or it starts with a great idea, like I said before. My daughter, I'm going to put some money in my daughter's college savings account. Starts off as a good idea. Goes into my warped mind. And it gets warped around. And it comes out, you need to commit suicide. And the reason it does that is because I start finding fault. with the business and the job and the people I work with and everyone I'm with. And I need to fire them and change my whole life, and nothing ever works out for me, so it's all useless anyway, so I might as well kill myself. And all I had to do was take a hot shower. All I had to do was wash. And why is it so painful? Because my mind is in there. And my mind is the power, and I can't control that mind. But what I get to do is abandon that mind, right? I stand at the turning point again right now. Right now. I ask His protection and care. God, could you protect and care for me? Could you protect me from my mind? Right now. With complete abandon of that mind. So that I could be here now with the power. And just have a shower. And just feel the hot water. And just take a shower. It doesn't have to be the world's most painful event. So, the first step talks about the disease, the twofold nature of the disease. I have an obsession of the mind, which we've talked about, and I have an allergy of the body. The reason I drink again is because of the obsession of the mind, not because I need a drink. I need a drink not because I physically need a drink. That might be true for the first 5 days or 10 days or maybe the first day that you detox off alcohol. You need a drink to calm your nerves. But after you separated from alcohol, you don't need a drink anymore. You need to kill the pain of your mind. And alcohol is the thing that did it for so long, and it worked for so long, and then it stops working. And now what? And then we talked about the last gaspers. I'm a last gasper. I got to know I'm a last gasper. And I have the delusion. That I can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if I only managed well. It's a lie that I tell myself. Like I said before, I would come to these retreats and I would sit out there and I would try and listen because I'm going to learn something. And I'm going to learn that thing, and the things that I'm going to learn are going to help me to manage my life better. I'm going to manage my emotions so I get along better with my wife, and I'm going to manage the way I think about my boss so that I can get along better with my boss, and I'm going to manage how I think about money so I'm not going to have financial insecurities anymore. And I live in the delusion, I live in the lie that I tell myself that one day I'm going to be able to wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if I can only manage well. And it's a lie. And I do all kinds of things in self, in how it works in 60 to 63. It describes me so perfectly. It says, the first thing that's required is that I be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. On that basis, I'm almost always in collision with something or somebody, even though my motives are good. Even with good motives, I'm in collision with everybody and everything. And then it says, that most people try to live by self-propulsion, which is nice. I'm glad to know that most people do that. But your self-propulsion doesn't kill me. My self-propulsion kills me. So whether or not you're a normie, or you have alcoholism or you don't, and you have other things that are bothering you, it's none of my business. I'm not a normie. I have grave emotional and mental disorders. I have alcoholism. There's something wrong with me and I need a treatment. Whether you do or not, none of my business. Why would I concern myself with whether you have it? I know because it was pointed out to me and shown to me, and I've gone through the 12 steps as a way of life. I know who I am. I know what's wrong with me. And I know that I need to treat my disease. Whether you do or not, I don't know. I hope you don't. I often say this. I hope you don't have what I have. I hope you don't have alcoholism. Or the alcoholism that I have. But if I'm not living in recovery, I'm dying of alcoholism. That's what I have. And not drinking and time hasn't made me better. Only in application right now in this moment do I get to start to get healed right now in this moment. But I think I try things to get people to do the way I want in the first step, because we don't have recovery yet in the first step. It's about the disease, and in the disease I try to get people to do what I want. And I try different tactics. In trying to make these arrangements, I may sometimes be quite virtuous. I may be kind, considerate, patient, generous, even modest and self-sacrificing. I may term myself a people pleaser. I'm such a nice guy, I do everything for everybody and they walk all over me. Or, on the other hand, I may be mean, egotistical, selfish, and dishonest. But it says with most humans, I'm both. I'll try nice and kind and considerate and self-sacrificing if I like you. I'll try those things. And when that doesn't work, I become mean, egotistical, and a pain in your butt. And I think when I'm being nice in early recovery, I think when I'm being nice and I'm being kind and I'm being considerate and patient and self-sacrificing, I think I'm with the power. Because I think those are godlike qualities and I'm not really capable of those things on my own power. I'm the mean, egotistical bully guy. But it's when I'm in self, everything I do is to please self. I want the show. What usually happens, the show doesn't come off very well. I begin to think life doesn't treat me right. I decide to exert myself more, and I become more, on the next occasion, more demanding or gracious, as the case may be. But ultimately, I'm trying to get the show to go the way I want. I want my wife to act a certain way, so I act nice or gracious. And then when she doesn't, I act mean and nasty. And I'm doing all these things to please self, to be self-satisfied. I'm trying with my will to get the world to be the way I want, and the show doesn't come off very well. Admitting I may be somewhat at fault, I'm sure that other people are more to blame. I become angry, indignant, self-pitying. What is my basic trouble? Am I not really a self-seeker, even when trying to be kind? That's why there's no people pleasers in Alcoholics Anonymous. I hear people say, I'm a people pleaser and people walk all over me. No, you're not. You're full of crap. The only reason you're nice to people is so that they'll do what you want. You're nice to them so they'll be your friend. Or you're nice to them so they'll think you're cool. Or you're nice to them so they'll sit next to you in a meeting so you don't have to sit by yourself and look like a weirdo. You're nice to them so that they'll give you a promotion at work. Everything about my niceness in alcoholism is to please myself, not to please you. And when you don't do what I want, then I become hurt and angry and indignant and self-pitying. Why does everybody walk on me? Why doesn't anything ever work out for me? And I think that my problem is that I'm such a nice guy that everybody walks all over me, but it's not true. It's just the tactic that I use to get what I want. So, there's so much to talk about in the first step. And near the end of the first step, it says, under the lash of alcoholism, I'm driven to AA. And there I discover the fatal nature of my situation. This is a fatal disease. Alcoholism kills people, drunk and sober. With 28 years of sobriety, people go out and they get a gun because their mind told them to. They get a nice shiny pistol and they put it in their mouth and they blow the back of their head off because they had a bad business deal or something went south that they thought was going to go north. And their mind told them because it rained on the day they were supposed to play golf. Who knows? But my mind is that powerful that it can talk me into my bedroom and tell me to get out my pistol and put it in my mouth and blow the back of my brains off. That's how powerful this disease is. It's fatal. Or it can get me to drink again, and to drink is to die if I'm an alcoholic with alcoholism. Under the lash of alcoholism, I'm driven to AA, and there I discover the fatal nature of my situation. Then and only then do I become as open-minded to conviction and as willing to listen as the dying can be. Because I know that I'm a last gasper and the fatal nature of my disease, and I'm as willing to listen as the dying can be. I'll come up here and sit in a chair and listen and say, please, get some of this on me. Help me, because I need to shut this mind up. And then it says, And then it says, I stand ready to do anything which will lift the merciless obsession from me. And I've said this before. My merciless obsession is to be self-satisfied. It's to be pleased. My merciless obsession is to have the right amount of money in the bank so that my mind will shut up about money. And I can stop talking to myself about how much is the right amount, and I can stop adding and subtracting how much I have and how much I need and how much is going out and how much is coming in, and I go crazy about money, and it drives me all day long talking to me. And then if it's not money, then it's the girl, and if it's not the girl, it's the place I live or the job or the neighbors or something. And I'm mercilessly obsessed to be self-satisfied because I think that if I can get self-satisfied, then I'll be okay. But I have a disease that tells me no matter what I have, I need something else. It always moves the target. Even if I get exactly what I told myself I wanted, it moves the target. And so I stand ready to do anything which will lift my merciless obsession, and I have to do the worst thing that ever happened to me. I have to start doing the second step. I have to come to believe that there's a power, and that power is greater than me, and that I can't restore myself to sanity, but this power can. That's terrible. Because I want to be the power for my life so bad. I want to learn how to manage my life. I want to figure this thing out, and I want to go out and be a self-made man. I want to have the things that I tell myself that I need to be happy because I think that's the only way I can be happy. And coming to believe that there's a power greater than myself is the last thing that I want to do. And then that power is the power that's going to restore me to sanity is terrible. All the self-talk, all the plans, all the ideas, all the thoughts about money and girls and cars and all of that self-talk is me trying to restore myself to sanity. But it never works. And it never shuts up, and it never gives up, and it'll run you right into the ground. And that's the fatal nature of my disease. Nothing satisfies me except for I could be restored to sanity. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. But questions?
Yes, you're right. Thank you.
What's the difference between admitting complete defeat and accepting my devastating weakness? So what I was taught or shown is that admitting is something I do with reluctance. So I come in and I admit it, but with a compliant aspect to it. You know, I'm here. Yes, I can never drink again, but maybe I can, but I'll try this AA thing. Accepting it is when it sinks down into my subconscious mind, and now it's the truth for my life, and I accept it, and I have no more quarrel with it. Yes, there's something wrong with me, and I need a treatment. And when I accept my devastating weakness, now I can start going in a direction to treat that disease. But when I just admit it, I'm still arguing. There's still an argument there. In other words, what's the difference? Oh, I did that. Okay. This is solved. Next time.
You probably won't get to all of them tonight because you only have about 5 minutes left.
How do you humble yourself? It says, until I'm so humbled. Right? Did I read that somewhere? Until I'm so humbled?
You only got 5 minutes.
I only got 5 minutes. Until I so humble myself, my sobriety will be precarious. The way that I'm humbled is by admitting accepting my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. And the way that happens is another man. I spent a lot of time with another man, and I got a lot of human help to be shown who I was, so that I could get to a place where I might be able to accept my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. It's not something that happened because I didn't drink for a few days or a few years. It happened because I sat down with another man and I exposed myself, and he shined the mirror back on me and said, "This is who you are, Randy. This is who you are." And I said, "Nah, that's not me." And he said, and then I'd go out back into the world and I'd get in a world of pain and I'd come back and I'd tell him the same story again, and he'd say, "This is who you are, Randy." And I'd say, "Nah, that's not me. That's you guys." And then I'd go out there and I'd beat myself against the wall again, and I'd come back bloody and beaten, and he'd say, "Look, this is who you are, Randy." And I'd say, "Nah, it's not me. It's not me. I'm not a complete defeat. Watch, I'll go do it." And I go back out there, and then eventually I get shown who I am. And I come back in humbled by the incredible beating that alcoholism administers, drunk or sober. It's going to beat me into submission. I'm either going to drink or die, or accept my devastating weakness and start a program of recovery. How do I admit complete defeat or surrender when I'm trying to, but I can't do it? That's a great question. You know, the thing about complete defeat is, first of all, I have a few guys that I sponsor, and I give them direction. What should I do? Step one, what should I do? What should I do? Tell me what to do. Okay, all right, read the first step out of the 12 and 12 every day, and we're going to get together next Tuesday. It's Tuesday. We're going to get together next Tuesday, and we're going to talk about it. And next Tuesday, and then we talk on Sunday. We talked a few times, but on Sunday I said, "So how's the reading going?" "Oh, I haven't read it yet." It's Sunday now. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read it today. And I say, "Okay, yeah, when we hang up the phone, just read it one time, and you'll have one day, you'll have today. Just read it." "Okay, I'm going to read it today." Okay. Tuesday, we talk on the phone. "I'm coming over tonight. We're going to go deeper in the first step." I'm all, okay. Have you read the 12 and 12 yet?" No, but I'm going to do it right after lunch. Right after lunch, I'm reading the 12 and 12. And then Tuesday night comes, and he shows up, and he hasn't read it. And he hasn't read it. And I say, we read it together about complete defeat. We read it together. And I said, "You can't admit complete defeat." And then you go and you have an experience where I meant to do it. Every day I told myself I'm going to read it. It's my experience also. Every day I told my sponsor, "I'm going to read it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it today. I mean well. I'm going to do it." And every day my mind will not allow me to do it. It's 4 pages. I say I want to do the steps. I can't read 4 pages. My mind will not allow me to do it. And that's complete defeat. When I realize that I can't even do what I say I'm going to do, I can't be the man that I say I am, that's when my complete defeat is complete. When I realize that I can't even admit complete defeat. That's an alcoholic with alcoholism.
All right. We've run out of time for this evening. There are still a few more.